It's like 10 o'clock, but I still feel in the creative mood. So, not really creative. I kind of just want to rant now about something that has been bugging me. But first, I need to find a picture. Instead, I'm going to show you guys something else. So, I went to my auntie's over the Christmas break, and I went onto her computer because I adore looking through her children's baby pictures. They were the freaking cutest children I've ever seen. So whenever I get the chance, I usually like to go snoop through their family photos because they're just freaking adorable, right? And it's just something we do together to pass time sometimes. But while we were doing so, I found a video actually of my mom talking and like interacting with me and my little cousin, and it made me so happy to see. We're at the table making eggs. That little girl there is my little cousin. That lady in the back is my mom. So.
Half an ear. Is there an egg in there? Yeah. Just wait until Allie gets and tell him that she doesn't shoot the gun.
I shot a gun apparently.
When I went and saw where she all hit. One was over here. Skull rocks?
Skull rocks, what the fuck?
Look at that one. You did pretty good.
That's my mom.
Which one do you want to see now? Should we take one out and dry it so you can put a sticker on it? Because this waiting's just... Okay. I'm just drawing.
That is literally what I have of my mom, and it's like, it's a really good memory. It's not any of this illness bullshit, and I don't know what to say about that. It's just so exciting. But there's something else that I want to rant about today, because someone I'm fairly close to, I work with this person, is kind of sick right now. And the situation that he's in kind of reminds me of my mom's situation in a lot of different ways. The reason why I really want to talk about this in today's video is because it just hits me really close to home. I've probably told this story once or twice on my channel already, so if it's a repeat, I apologize. I really want to talk about it because something's happening with my boss, and it's somewhat similar to what happened to my mom, and it just has me really freaked out. I mean, it's not exactly the same thing, but it's related in some way, and every time I hear about it, it kind of just sends me flashbacks of my mother. My mom has been sick, or was sick, her whole entire life. Ever since she was a little kid, she was sick from the point, she was a goner. She's been sick, in and out of the hospital repeatedly. She is diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, which brings a lot of complications on its own. If you don't know what it is, it's basically joint and whatever issues, but rheumatoid actually causes you to cripple. And what had happened, or what had already happened with my mom, was her fingers, instead of her hands being like this, her joints were starting to cripple and turn her fingers, like bend them and then turn them sideways. That's how that works. So if you even Google rheumatoid arthritis in the fingers, you'll see what I'm talking about. Her hands at the age of 39 already look like that. She then had no immune system. It was a very rare immune disorder or something like that. I don't really know at this point anymore. I can't remember shit. So overall, she was just really sick, and a lot of her complications in life came from rheumatoid arthritis. A lot of things that were unexplained, they just assumed were linked to that, and she often left doctor's offices with no answers more than she left with answers. Her illnesses, a lot of them, like, she has more than I'm explaining right now. I just honestly have no fucking clue where to begin. She'd be put on pain medication that would suppress her immune system, and then she would have to counter that with immune system drugs that would probably trigger her whatever, right? So she had a bunch of different things working against her all at once, and overall it was just hard for her to, like, get out of here, dude. And the last thing that ever happened to her that kind of pushed her body to the edge of no return was an infection. The reason why my boss's infection kind of makes me think of my mom's is because it was in her leg and then his is in his leg. Whatever, middle of the summer, she started getting swelling in her legs, and swelling was a common thing when it comes to rheumatoid arthritis, so They just assumed it was linked to that, and that was that. They didn't really have any answers for her on how to make it go away or get better. They just said it was caused because of rheumatoid arthritis, and they would do some tests and try to figure it out. From her knee down to her ankle, even her foot was massively, massively swollen all the time, always filled with fluid. She got sick of it to the point where she went to the doctor and said, you know, shit needs to be done about this because I can't take it anymore. Like, the swelling was getting so bad that it was hard for her to live a decent or have a decent quality of life. Like, she was starting not to be able to walk and just things like that. So early 2013, January, my mom had this procedure done where they put a tube in her leg from her knee down to her ankle, and then there was this suction thing on the end of it. So every time it would kind of decompress, it would pull fluid out of her leg. And this thing repeatedly needed to be drained, and it was the most fucking freaky thing ever. I was the one that had to drain that, no one else, me. So I know that, like, it was freaky. Before this procedure was done, I actually begged my mom, crying and pleading, like, don't do the surgery because she has no immune system. Anything that she has done or any wound that she has gets severely infected. Me being the worrywart I was, like, I literally pleaded with her. I was like, just don't do this surgery. It's not going to end well. And one of the things that could have happened if it got infected was her leg being amputated, which just was not good for me because I do have, like, this fucking strange ass phobia of nubs, and I just did not want that to happen to my mom. So I begged her not to do this surgery, but of course, nothing that I say or did could have held her away from trying to get a better quality of life. And sure as shit, it got infected. Didn't really know it was infected, and she kind of pushed away going to the doctor because obviously she's been there her whole life. She was getting really sick of it. And she kind of waited too long to go to the doctor, and when she did, it was severely infected. And by the time she got to the hospital, the infection spread from her leg throughout her entire body, and she was rushed to the ICU unit in Edmonton. And from that point on, my mom was in and out of the hospital repeatedly up until she passed away. I think I was home with my mom for a month altogether. Or just over a month and a half. From January all the way till the end of May, I've spent like a month and a half with my mom. She was admitted into the ICU until the infection was under control. Then she got moved to like the general care area, and then she was there until the infection was to go away because she was so low, like she didn't have an immune system. And they thought they got the infection completely gone, and adios, they thought it was gone away, taken care of, and she was discharged, or she discharged herself and she came home, but she was still on antibiotics, still trying to fight that a little bit more. Within a week or two, it was back, stronger than ever. She was in the hospital, and this kind of happened up until April. And my mom was home April 1st exactly, and she spent the whole month home, and it was like the best month ever. Like, my mom was home, and I thought she was home for good, but her quality of life when she was home was not good at all. Like, she couldn't use the washroom on her own. I had to, like, help her get up and go to the washroom. I had to wash her hair. Like, I was basically her caregiver. And as, like, a little 14, 15-year-old, that is hard on your, like, mental state. Like, I don't think anyone knows how much I took care of my mom. Like, they think that this was just a thing that happened and she passed away. I witnessed my mom deteriorate, guys. Like, I witnessed her go from someone that could walk on 2 feet to someone that needed a wheelchair. Still very sick, like I said. Her quality of life was very poor, and I think there was a lot of things that she was hiding from me in that point, like how she was feeling legitimately. And I believe that this was caused by that infection that never went away. Last day of April. Seriously, the last day. My mom told me that if she called me in the middle of the night that she needed to go to the hospital. And I was like, okay, Mom, like, you, okay, okay. I don't think I've ever told this publicly, but my mom actually, she was crying. She was sitting in her walker wheelchair thing, and she was crying, and I went up to her and I asked her why she was crying, and she told me that she was scared of dying. So then I helped her get to her bed and whatnot, and, you know, get comfy, and I told her, you know, that won't happen for a very long time, all this bullshit. And then that's when she told me to call the ambulance if she called me in the middle of the night. When I woke up the next morning, it was to my mom screaming, and I ran upstairs. Her mouth was bleeding because of the infection in her body. It put a hole in her stomach, and she was bleeding through her mouth, and all this lovely shit that you guys probably don't need to know, but I'm talking about it anyway. And so I had to call the ambulance, and she was taken away. And the whole time the ambulance was like there and the paramedics were getting her out of the house, she was just like screaming, "Help me, I don't want to die, I can't breathe," repeatedly, those 3 things. And it was just so heartbreaking, and things that I'll just never get out of my mind. And to think my boss's infection in his leg makes me think of all of this shit in my head every time. I don't think I've ever explained like this in detail. Like, I've told many people in person, but I don't think I've ever made a video like this. I'll feel very weird posting this. I totally will. What happened after that was I thought it was going to be like every other hospital visit. She'd get there, they'd get her situated and whatnot, and it would be good. And she'd call me, and it would be like a week or 2, and she'd come home. And I then stayed home. I did my laundry, I did my chores, and then I got a knock on the door saying, "You need to come with me because it is not good." I had absolutely no idea what to expect when I got there, but when I did, my mom was laying on like a gurney getting ready to be transported to the major hospital in the city, and it was not what I don't know. I'm not even gonna explain it. What I seen just was not pleasant, and it was very, very scary. When she got to the city, they didn't even put her in general admission. She went straight to the ICU, and that's where she stayed for the rest of the month of May before she passed away. Pretty much this infection took over her whole entire body and was starting to shut down her organs. And because she was on so many different high quantities of different types of pain medication for her arthritis and everything, and just trying to cope with everything, that wasn't helping at all either. So she had a hole in her stomach, the infection spread through her blood, and her organs were shutting down, and there wasn't any coming back from this one. That night, actually, she was admitted into the hospital. I had someone that I don't even remember their name. All I know is I got into someone's car. It was one of my brother's friends. We went and got my brother, and then we went to this hospital. And by the time we got to the hospital, it was 1 a.m. We live about an hour away. Plus, it's like in the main area, and we had to find it. We're kids. So we got into this vehicle. We drove to the city, and I walked into the hospital at 1 a.m. trying to find my mother. And because it was so serious, they let us in and whatnot, but my family was not happy what I just did to go see my mom, and it's tough. She was so doped up. Like, she didn't even open her eyes when we were there, but whenever she did, she just looked right through me, like I wasn't even a thing. Like, I was just air, pretty much. It didn't even look like she was looking at me. And she had popped blood vessels in one of her eyes, so whenever I see that, I just get freaked the fuck out. I ended up getting a little bit emotional near this end of the video, so a lot of it was cut out, and then my face cam froze, and then there's weird audio playing, so I'm gonna end the video here. All I pretty much said was I watched my mom take her last few breaths and that kind of thing, and how my boss's infection kind of just reminds me of this whole situation, and I just really needed to talk about it. But if you made it this far in the video, I really do appreciate it so very, very, very much. I appreciate you guys being here for me, and yeah, I'll see you in the next video.